Okay.
I was hoping you had this. This is hilarious. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned this. So Dana White finally spoke up about why he didn't put the belt on Francis. He said he was dealing with stuff backstage. Yeah.
I have my theory on this.
Okay.
So this is what Dana said. So during a fan Q&A session on ESPN Plus Wednesday, I wasn't out there for the main event. I actually walked out of the arena right after the co-main event because there was stuff going on backstage I was dealing with. But he doesn't say what he's dealing with, right? No. For anybody to think that I was showing any type of disrespect towards Francis, you were. I saw Francis all week, you idiots. I shook his hand. I said hi to him. I was out there for the stare downs, the whole thing. You weren't there for the most important thing, though, Dana. For anybody to think there was some type of disrespect shown towards Francis, I wasn't out there for Michael Bisping versus Rockhold. He's like, see, I've done it before. Because I was doing some stuff. I sprint from the back. I didn't even have my jacket. I only had my shirt on to go out there, put the belt on Bisping, but I couldn't make it out there to put the belt on Francis. There's only been one time I walked out of a fight, and I made it very clear, showed up to the press conference, said this is exactly why I left. I was in Abu Dhabi with Anderson Silva. It was the Damian Maia fight, so there's the answer. I don't know if somebody asked that, but somebody wanted to. There you go. It was an absolute honor receiving the belt from Mick Maynard. Francis wrote, couldn't be a better person. I love this man. For sure. Mm-hmm. Bro, I don't care about that. I'm happy that's all that matters. Yeah, I'm with Francis on this. Here's the thing with Dana. So what I think happened is... there's some stuff that went on before the week of the fight. There's some stuff that went on between Dana and Francis' representation. And clearly, anytime a fighter, especially of Francis' magnitude, fights back against the UFC, he's very out about it. It creates animosity for Dana and the fighter. So it's awkward. It's awkward for him. It's awkward for his reputation. The UFC hates Francis' reputation because they don't play the same game everybody else is, because everybody else, for the most part, are sheeps. Because WME represents the UFC, Dana White, right? It's a conflict of interest to the fullest extent. So they hate that Francis isn't going, when they say jump, he's asking how high. He's one of the only outliers who asks, all right, how high you want? I'll jump, but how high do I need to jump? So I think this animosity led up to the fight, and they were banking, and also, the UFC brass, Dana especially, knew that Francis had one leg going this fight. He was not expected to win this fight. So they thought they had him dead to rights. They thought this was over. This will make all this go away. Francis can be forced to sign with this. You don't know Francis Ngannou. You don't know that this ain't shit compared to what he's dealt with his entire life. Mentally, you have no idea how strong Francis is. He figures out how to get done even on one leg, wins, and it puts all the chips in Francis' corner. All the chips. It's Dana's ego. It's Dana's ego that it's his one downfall, man. It's his one downfall. And I said this last week on the show. I said this to Francis on Food Truck, or maybe the Classified Companion. I can't believe he doesn't have someone around his team that when this was going on, when Francis was going to win the fight and Dana had to sprint to the back to deal with issues during the biggest moment of the night. And the issues they don't tell us about, right? There couldn't have been a bigger issue than putting a belt on Francis. Everybody in that arena knows what it will look like if Dana doesn't put the belt on Francis, right? I can't believe there's not someone in his circle, whether it's a coworker, an assistant, a colleague, a peer, that goes, hey, man, you've won, bub. You've won, dude. You've won. You have $500 million in the bank. All you got to do, let's not create this narrative. It's going to make you look really bad. It is. It's going to make you look bad if you don't put the belt on Francis. You look like a sore loser. Put the belt on him. Let's be professional. And then we'll deal with the X's and O's and the numbers after the fact. But he's deserved this. He deserves this. And all this does is give him more power in negotiations the way you're treating him. It's not a good look, man. Just be cool. Also, you've won. You got $500 million in the bank, dude. Francis has nothing. I know you're paying him $650,000 after taxes, paying the trainers. It's nothing for him. Let's not stir the pot, man. You've won. And also remember, just go put the belt on him, because then there's no story here, and it helps us in negotiations after this. And also remember, you have $500 million in the bank, dude, right? You have $500 million in the bank. Your kids, you got generational wealth. Francis does not. Francis can't take 2 years off and continue to live a good life. He has to fight. He's a cage fighter. You remember Dana. I'd whisper into the remember, dude. Just put the belt on him so it doesn't create all this chaos and make you look like an asshole and puts more people in Francis' corner. Put the belt on him. And remember, dude, you have $500 million in the bank, you've won, and we still jump on your private jet. What house you want to go to, dude? You want to go to your Miami house? You want to go to the Vegas house? You want to go to the Newport house? Where you Montana? Where, New York? We have we go to Brazil, your house there. What do you want to do, dude? You've won. There's no reason to act like this. But part of the reason what makes Dana White great is also his biggest liability, and that's his ego, and the ego got the best of him, and he was a sore loser, went, no, I'm not doing this, and then ran to the back. Okay, cool. Well, there's one person that can control Dana White. There's one person. His name's Ari Emanuel. He's the owner of WME. And when he says jump, he's the only guy on the planet. Dana goes, how high, sir? He's the only guy. I'm willing to bet that somebody in that powerful circle, when that got done, called and went, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you out of your mind? We're in negotiation with this guy. This is the one guy that might make a change for the fighters. Do you realize what you're doing? And you're just adding fuel to the fucking fire, man. And why? Because he bet on himself when he won on one fucking leg. Are you out of your mind? You're going to make this right. The next time somebody asks you about this, you better come up with something where you don't look like a complete asshole. And what happened? Oh, no, I love Francis. I was dealing with something in the back. It's happened before. And me and Francis were cool all week. I was at the stare down. Okay. I guarantee you, the guys that call the shots, now that the UFC sold, they're not playing that game. You're adding more fuel to the fucking fire. You're not helping this thing out. This does not help negotiations. And they've done everything. If you look at it, they've done everything. I've talked off camera with people on Francis' team. They've done everything in their power to try and take the power away from Francis Ngannou. They can't stand that this man has the power over them. They can't stand he's the face of the heavyweight division. They can't stand that he banked himself with one leg and he shouldn't be here and he still fucking won. They can't stand that now he's getting even bigger, he's getting even louder. They can't stand it he's represented by CA. They hate that. But he's they don't realize what, I'm telling you, man, they don't realize what they're dealing with. You're talking about a complete fucking outlier with the mental strength of a fucking special forces soldier that's gone through shit that you can't even imagine, Dana. You can't even fucking fathom who you're fucking with. Oh, on top of that mental strength, he has the body of a fucking X-Men. And he's the hardest hitter to ever walk through that goddamn cage. And you think you're going to break that guy? You think you can disrespect that guy and not put the belt on him? Are you out of your goddamn mind? And this isn't a shit on Dana episode at all. I'm a fan. I don't think the UFC would have got where they've gotten without Dana's vision, his work ethic, his ego. Again, that ego is his biggest Achilles heel on him. It's trouble, man. But what happened? I fucking told you guys. So that Ari Emanuel went, what are you doing, dude? You've just given them even more fucking fuel by not putting the belt on. And why? What are you doing? And now we're seeing it. Oh, no, I didn't disrespect him. I had to, you had to, something was so important. You can't tell us. Something was so important. You had to rush to the back. And you're not helping Francis. Look at the star power on that card. Let's talk about that. What about the star power on that card? Was it a stacked card for you guys? Was there not complaints about the card? Oh, well, we put the flyweight championship on there. You know the flyweights don't bring massive views. So let's talk about that. Why would you put, and this isn't disrespecting the fighters on there, but I'm just talking about, it's very black and white. Why was the rest of the card no star power? Anyone know why? Well, in negotiations, what they're going to do with Francis, I bet this sold between 300,000 to 400,000 pay-per-views, which isn't bad. They need 300K to, which they think to get their nut back, right? So, and you look at the pay structures, they made all the money in the world. This card, there's no star power on it. So by stacking a card, you can't really figure out who. You can credit the main event because they were the main event. That's who we put on the marketing bill, and that's the headliners, and they get a pay-per-view point, and they're going to make more money. Sure, but when the card's not, when you look at UFC 100, UFC 200, you look at some of these pay-per-views coming up. They're all more stacked than this one. That was a complete strategic business move by the UFC and the brass of the UFC to undermine Francis Ngannou. Because is Francis the biggest name in America as far as pay-per-view goes? No. He's been out for a while. Cyril Gane, not a star yet. He's just not a star yet. So they put flyweights on there so they don't draw too much attention to it. Then you look at the rest of the card. I don't think any of those guys have ever really, no one else has ever been a headliner. No one else is really a star pay-per-view driven fighter. They do that. So now when CA sits down with WME and negotiates a deal for Francis, what's fair, they can go, last fight only did 300,000, man. It's not great. You don't deserve the whatever money you're asking for. It's not an obscene amount of money. It's what's right. If he asks for what's exactly what he's due, it'd be an obscene amount of money. But we can't even play that game. He's trying to get somewhat higher. So there's a reason why that pay-per-view, as far as pay-per-view star power, it wasn't on there. Because now it's another thing to go against Francis Ngannou. It's a fucking shame. It's a fucking shame. Because remember too that, you know, him getting pay-per-view points, it lowers everything. In the UFC, they don't care if they sell 200, 300,000 more pay-per-views on this one or the next one or the next one or the next one. They're going to get theirs. The house always wins. And that's why I tell you guys, I don't need you to be a Francis Ngannou fan. Maybe you don't like something that he does, or maybe you don't like this or that. I don't care about any of that. I told you go on this fight, even if you're fucking from France and you went to fucking middle school, Cyril Gane, if they have middle school in French. I don't know how it works out there. But even if that's if that was your fucking neighbor, you should root for Francis in this fight. Cyril will be champion eventually. But right now, what Francis is doing has never been done before. And he can change the game for everybody on that roster. It's historic, man. I can't emphasize that enough. You want this guy to win. You've all had shitty bosses out there. We've all worked for the man. It fucking sucks. And now you got a guy, I told you, with a special forces fucking mindset in the body of an X-Men. And he's trying to make the change. And you need someone of that magnitude to make the change. He's the only guy. Conor ain't the guy anymore. Conor's set. His path has been set. He has too much money to make the change. He's not his prime anymore. That's over. Khabib's retired. That's over. You have nobody else like Francis. You have your heavyweight champ of the world talking about where's our health care? Where's our fighter pay? And then he beats the guy that they thought was going to beat him on one fucking leg. Now he's saying, now, what's up now? And they've stacked everything against him. Didn't even put the belt around him. Think about it. It's clear. The writing's on the fucking wall. Shitty pay-per-view, so he has no negotiating power. Didn't put the belt on him. Made him sit out fought once a year barely. They've done everything in their power to get this man to lose. But they've never, ever dealt with a fucking animal like Francis Ngannou. Ever. And his team. Shout out to Markel. They've never dealt with anything than these two fucking men who have the vision that they have. And if there's a board meeting today with the fucking UFC, for the life of me, I can't figure out. Hopefully Ari Emanuel was in that fucking meeting, because we got to get Dana's ego out of this one. And we need Dana. We need him on board to get this deal done. He has to. He has to be on board. Otherwise the deal doesn't get done. We got to fuck CA. Fuck these camps. It's about Francis. And even as a businessman, the UFC is going to make more money with Francis Ngannou in the UFC and then helping promote his fights with Tyson Fury than any other scenario that they're going to figure out. How much money would the UFC make if they can just give Francis, not what he's due, because you're never going to pay that. I'm just saying a higher guarantee, a fraction of what he's worth, and market him the same way. How much more money are you going to get doing that? And you get the John Jones super fight. You get at least 2 Tyson Fury collabs. How much more money? You're going to miss out on all that. But at the end of the day, you know who misses out the most? The fans. And you owe it to the fans. You've increased your pay-per-view price. You force us to buy ESPN Plus. What else do you want, man? You owe it to us to put your ego to the side on this one time, Dana. I fucking beg you, man. Put the ego to the side and figure this out with Francis' team. And don't look at Francis as CA versus WME. Look at it as fucking a guy who runs the best, biggest, baddest fight league in the world to ever do it. And you're probably the greatest president of all fucking time, man. You're up there with Roger Goodell. I'll give you that credit, man. You're the fucking guy. For this one time, I beg you, man, put your ego to the side and work with Francis' team. You fucking owe it to us, the fans. Otherwise, we miss out on Francis John Jones. That's the only fight I want to see. I want to see nothing else. I speak for millions of people, dude. You fucking owe it to us. You want that extra money? Play ball. I'll give you whatever money you want. Whatever you're selling, I'll fucking buy. Whatever you want, man. But this one time, I need you to put your ego to the side and look at him like a fucking human being and get the deal done. Because you owe us Francis John Jones. You owe us Tyson Fury, Francis. You got to be involved in that. Why wouldn't you want to be involved with that? You owe it to us. Do what's right. You've already won, dude. You've already won. It doesn't take away from your shine if you give Francis some shine. The only reason we heard his remarkable story, which has been sold to Hollywood, his life story has been sold to Hollywood. They have 7 different fucking offers from the biggest movie studios to ever do it. Hollywood knows his story. The fans are just getting his story. But where did his story come from? Not the UFC. Even though you guys are the best in the world at marketing, there's nobody better. You're better than the NFL, the NBA, not even close. Kudos to you. You have an amazing staff. You guys are the best. I'll give you that. But you never gave Francis a fair shot. We've never heard his story. Never. He had to go on Joe Rogan to hear the whole story. Rogan did that. UFC didn't book Francis on Rogan. Rogan called Francis' team and booked that. Rogan books it himself. If you saw his apology today, I wouldn't call it an apology. I would call it an informational video, a 9-minute video on Instagram from his side of things. He'd say, I book it all myself. Yeah, UFC didn't book that. And that's how we got Francis' story on the biggest show in the world. That's not UFC's doing. Why not be cool, man? For once, be cool. You guys have won, man. And if you're worried about other fighters following Francis' footsteps, I get that. You don't want to set, precedents where every guy's doing this. You're not. Francis is an outlier. He's a once in a fucking lifetime fighter, man. And if you fuck him over, you're going to regret it. It's going to be the biggest regret you've ever had. Ever. Ever. Ever, ever. You know how historic it's going to be for Francis versus Tyson Fury? You guys don't want to be involved in that? I know ESPN pays your nut and you guys get all the money from them. I get it, man. But you guys know what's right. And I know Ari Emanuel knows what's right too. And he's the one that made you apologize for doing this. And he's the one that when he tells you to jump, you ask how high. Ari, he's not from the fight world. He's not from this world. But he's from the business world. And that's why he's trying to make you make this right. Figure it out, guys. Figure it out. You got to figure it out. Have to. You just have to. I beg you guys. Again, you want to charge more money, charge all these pay-per-views, put on pay-per-view once a month. Then we got to pay for fucking ESPN Plus, do all that stuff. I get all of it. Do what's right. Imagine if any other sport treated us like this, treated the fans like this. Imagine if because Georgia was represented by somebody else, you wouldn't let them play in the national championship. You let them go play elsewhere because you didn't like the representation. You didn't want to sit in the same room as them. Imagine the uproar. Imagine how furious fans would be. It'd be insane. It'd be insane. But our audience, the fight audience, is so accustomed to just taking it and shutting up because we have no control over it. For the first time, Francis has all the control. And you guys can't afford to miss out on a Francis renewed contract. Again, he's not asking for 10, 20 million. He'll make that generational money. He'll make that in the Tyson Fury fight. So just play ball. Don't get in the way. Help him out. Because again, nobody's better at marketing. Nobody's better at negotiation. He's going to have somebody, a big dog, negotiate that contract against Tyson Fury. And the one shot, the small chance he knocks Tyson Fury out, how great does that make the UFC look? That your heavyweight champ knocked out the best heavyweight of all time. I'll debate you all day on Tyson Fury being the heavyweight champ of all time, by the way. The best. I'll argue that all day. Give me who you think's better than Tyson Fury. Skill-wise, defense, footwork, his size. Yeah, he's not a knockout artist, but as far as fundamentally, get the fuck out of my face. There's nobody better. I was smoking those old school guys you want to talk about. Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis, same size, didn't have the same footwork. I'll argue that all day. And if Francis, and he can, if he lands that fucking bomb on him and wins, what's that do for the sport of the UFC? What if he went and signed with Bellator or Ryzen or won championship? Well, then they get all the accolades. Also, if you don't sign him, and say John fights Stipe, which I think will happen this year because Francis is out with the knee, are they really the champ? Because the guy that I know as the champ isn't fighting. So you have a fake champ, and that's forever and be on his record. So it's a butterfly effect. There's going to be so much. The downside to not playing ball and being cool with Francis, the downside is so much bigger than the upside. It's not even close, man. And I know you guys know this. It's just the goddamn ego is in the way. Unreal. That's my rant, Jen.